Is it time to reveal your real magic and become seen, known, and valued? Hello, and welcome to today's Visionary Voices Deep Dive. And today we are talking about from seed to sprout, how to grow your vision into reality. So we haven't met before. Hello, my name is reconnect, and I'm a deep dive visibility mentor, transformational coach and facilitators. And I help soulful business owners and creatives to step forward and share their gifts and overcome any fears to taking up space and becoming visible so you can really share your wisdom with the world. So I'm so excited to be here with you. This is a very important time of the year. So it's the time of the year that in the Celtic festival calendar is called Imbolc, and it's also the goddess Bridget's or Saint Bridget's day yesterday, and it's also the turning point between the winter solstice and the spring equinox, and the actual turning point this week is tomorrow. So we're here perfectly positioned between tomorrow being the actual turning point and yesterday being St. Bridget's Day. And so this is the time of year when seeds start to break free from their little shells that they've been hiding away in and start to sprout and up through the cold, hard, sometimes frozen ground into reality. It's a fragile time. It is also a time for us. We've set our New Year's resolutions. We're like, this is how I'm going to be showing up this year. And this is when we can falter. We can hit that cold, hard ground of reality. And our fragile seeds can falter. So that's what we want to talk about today. How can you engage your resistance to, which is normal. This seed has got to break through that shell. It's got to break through that ground. Resistance is normal. Resistance actually makes it stronger. But how can you engage that resistance in a way that makes you stronger rather than causes you to falter, to shrink back, and not to step out? So what I notice, I'm very creative and I can get very fired up and excited with creative projects and then lose energy when it comes to, staying committed and showing up regularly. And it's like, oh, do I have to do this all the time? I'd like to move on to another new, exciting creative project. And so, and what I notice, and I'll share some stories with you about this, is that when I engage with my resistance, when I turn towards it, often I will discover some new wisdom that I would not have gotten had I not engaged and gone through that resistance, rather than just kind of pushing past or pushing it away or letting it win. So there's a middle way that's actually even better. So now is the time. So tell me in the comments below, what is it? How are the seeds of your vision coming forward? What is it that you really committed to this year or want to commit to, that you might be encountering that cold, hard resistance that we all do? So just let me know what your experience is around this or anything that you've discovered that helps overcome this. So put that in the comments, and I'm going to see if I can see the comments on my phone because Facebook just does not show them to me. Okay, let me see. No, it's not showing up just yet. Okay. Right. Okay. Now I have got them. I just need to mute this. Right. So post any comments in below, but let's dive in. So I want to give you an experience of this as we go through. And the other thing I want to do today, even more than I've done in the last few lives that I've done here, is share a poem, because the goddess Bridget, who's also, my patron goddess, because my middle name is Breed. She's the goddess of healing, transformation, and poetry. So I wanted to celebrate and honor the goddess Bridget by sharing a poem with you that really speaks to this topic that we're engaging today. So it's a poem by the German poet Rainer Maria Rilke called Just as the Winged Energy of Delight. Just as the winged energy of delight carried you over many chasms early on, now raise the daringly imagined arch, holding up the astonishing bridges. Miracle doesn't lie only in the amazing living through and defeat of danger. Miracle becomes miracles in the clear achievement that is earned. To work with things is not hubris. And hubris means arrogance or pride. To work with things is not hubris when building the association beyond words. Denser and denser the pattern becomes. Being carried along is not enough. Take your well-disciplined strengths and place them between two opposing poles, because inside human beings is where God learns. And so what I love about this poem, is saying the winged energy of delight, the kind of energy of inspiration and intentions will only carry you so far. And then we've got to build the bridges over the chasms, because the flying energy is going to run out. So let's build the structures, build the bridges over the obstacles that we come up against. And I love this, is that it's okay to create miracles through this clear achievement that is earned, through the step-by-step process of creating your vision. But what it says is, when building the association beyond words, when building the associations beyond our visions, when cutting a new pathway in our lives, which showing up in new ways, that's exactly what it is. Denser and denser the pattern becomes. Being carried along is not enough. And the patterns that we encounter are the ingrained patterns of how we've been in the past. And we want to show up in new ways, but we run into resistance, which is the dense patterns of how things are. And those, imagine you're cutting a pathway through the jungle, and there's this big superhighway that you've been used to traveling, and it's really clear and it's really easy to walk down, but you're there with your machete and you're cutting a new pathway, and it's hard work, it's dense. This is how it is when we're showing up in new ways. So the poem is also saying to take your well-disciplined strengths and stretch them between two opposing poles. And that's the two opposing poles of where you are and where you want to be. And it says, then because inside human beings is where God learns. And what we're going to explore today is how to engage the resistance, which is the opposing poles of where you are and where you want to be. Because inside there, that's where we learn. That's where we learn most, not just to do things and to accomplish things, but to really learn and grow and become more of who we are. So the first step on this is to engage fully with the resistance that you're coming in contact with. When the seed pushes up through the frozen ground, it has to develop strength in order to push through. And there's really amazing wisdom to be harvested in the resistance, rather than avoiding it or feeling ashamed because you've got fear and resistance, which is totally normal. In Star Trek, they say the Borg, when they come along to conquer a planet, they say resistance is futile. I say resistance is normal. And I say this to my clients all the time. Resistance is normal. So one of the a client I was working with last week, she was really encountering this and having a lot of resistance to showing up and growing her community and stepping out there in line with her vision and getting amazing feedback from her people, but feeling this avoidance and stuckness in herself. And when we dove deep into it in the session, what she really experienced and what she what we discovered is that there was this deep ancestral pattern that had come through her ancestors, father and her grandfather, of hiding, that it had not been safe for them to show up. And they had learned these ways of being in the world that kept them safe. And so there was this really dense pattern that was playing out, that was older than she was, that was bigger than she was. And when we really engaged with that, it was like there was so much wisdom in that resistance that was really showing what the pattern was and how to clear that for her whole ancestral line. And then that gave her so much, like a whole new place to stand and a whole new sense of strength to engage with what she wanted to do going forward. So that's why engaging with the resistance is necessary and valuable. And so don't beat yourself up for having it, but get support to overcome it. And another client that I also worked with last week, she was also experiencing a lot of procrastination to taking the steps that she wanted to take, to having a deep conversation, with somebody and really making herself visible and vulnerable. And she was holding back on that. And so because of, what I taught her in our time together, she kind of turned towards the resistance herself. And she kind of said, what's going on here? And what she got in touch with was that part of her younger self that was, a bit scared and doing this for the new time, the part of her that was scared, it was actually wanting a few adjustments made to her plans rather than either not doing it or doing it the way she had planned. Because she engaged with resistance and spoke to the part, what she negotiated with herself is, okay, let's do it this way instead. This way is going to be less of an overwhelming stretch, and it will also give us the results that we want. So that's exactly what she did. She adjusted her plans. She did it that way, and she experienced a huge breakthrough, a massive breakthrough, and really showing up and being visible in new ways. So I'd love to know what your practice is for engaging with your resistance and how can you show up in new ways and get support you need to really engage with that resistance. So the second step from growing from sprouts and seed to sprout is to reconnect with your why. So often the energy of our visions is in a higher vibration to the energy of our resistance or our daily selves or our existing habits, as opposed to the new habits that we want to create. So your vision is literally on a different vibe to where you can be on a daily basis. So one of the things that you can do to shift your vibe and to get back to that vibration, it could be, what is it that works for you? What is it that works for you to shift to your vibe? It could be meditation. It could be a walk in nature. It could be connecting with music. It could be moving. It could be having a call with a friend. It could be connecting with a precious community, getting some support from a mentor. So there are lots of ways that you can, reconnect and shift your vibe closer to the vibe of your vision. But a really powerful way to do this is the tip I'm going to give you today, is to connect to your why. And what your why is, there are many different ways of accessing your why. But one that I love, that I use a lot, is to connect with your statement of imagine a world where. And then imagine a world where the promise of your vision was fulfilled, not just for you, but for everyone in the world. So for me, it would be imagine a world where the visionaries and the wisdom keepers of the world felt really free and brave and or out there sharing their messages, what a world that would be. What a world that would be if all these visions were liberated and able to be out into the world being shared. So what is that for you? What is it for you if your vision was fulfilled so that everyone could experience that? And write a statement. Imagine a world where, and write down your vision, share it here in the chat, share it here in the group, share it on your website, share it wherever you're speaking, and connecting with somebody. Share that vision, because that instantly shifts you up to the vibe of your vision, and it actually invites other people to join you in creating that mission. It's really magnetic. So that's the second point, is reconnect with your why and up level your vibe to match your vision. So the third step then to spread your seed and ground your vision into reality is to devote yourself to your path. And this is a piece that's often either focused on separately on its own or is left out in personal development transformation. So a lot of people do the transformational work and they get the big insights and the ahas and the breakthroughs, but then they don't commit to a path of practice to integrate that transformation into their life. Or they do programs where it's all do, and there isn't really a connection back to the vision. So this is why I use the word devotion rather than discipline. You really are devoting yourself to that spark, that vision of inspiration that you have. But what we need to remember is that the inspiration is like the feminine energy, and that's like the river that flows through. And then there's also a structure that's needed. There's a riverbank that is needed to hold the energy of that vision. And so imagine if there was no riverbank, the water would just flow everywhere. Nothing would happen. It might get to the sea, it might not, it would just, be a bit of a mess. But if also the structure is too tight, the water can't flow. It just feels restricted and it's just like, this is much fun. So what you want is to create structure in your life that really supports the flow of your vision. And this is also the pathway that you're cutting, like that, cutting the path through the jungle. So a great way to do this is to really, so for me, and why I'm speaking about this topic today, is the resistance that I encountered recently is, committing to showing up and doing this every week. And I really, really want to be here sharing what I have to share and listening to you guys and, seeing how I can serve you. But part of me is like going, oh yeah, that's great, but is there a shiny new object that I can chase? So it's really devoting myself to this project, engaging my own resistance and kind of saying, okay, what is it that I really want to share that reignites my vision and that I can bring in new ways? And so for me, when I, re-engaged with that, is I got new ideas for how I could show up. But also, one of the things that I did was I went and created a structure. I went and created a workflow for what is it that I need to do every week. I don't need to reinvent the wheel. Let me create a structure through which it's easy for my energy and communication to flow and to engage with yours. So bring awareness to what is it for you? What structures do you need to create? What are the specific mindset shifts that will support you to show up in new ways? What are the new ways of thinking? What are the new habits that you need to commit to developing? So, because often this is linked to creating a new habit in your life. And that's the resistance we encounter because it's cutting that new pathway. What are the new skills and capacities that you need to develop? Because often we haven't developed a lot of skill, or we need to up level our skill and our capacity in that area. It might be learning about social media, or how to present a video, or how to do a Facebook Live, or how can you really engage with your audience? How can you have those difficult conversations? How can you communicate in a way that connects with people? What is that for you? So share in the comments below what you're seeing or is needed for you. And then what support do you need to maintain these habits and skills and new practices? What support structures have you got set up that will be unstoppable in the face of resistance, in the face of life happening? So create, what I recommend for this step around really devoting yourself to your path. It's really valuable to create clear, specific, concrete, tangible steps and plans, that they are the riverbank through which the energy of your vision can flow. This step is really important, and this is what will help you to become unstoppable and to ground your vision into reality. So is there anything I can clear up? Any questions you have around any of this? Anything that you have tried that's worked for you? So put your questions in the comments, and let me see if I can see anything. No, I'm still struggling to see the comments. I'm sorry. I will engage with every single comment after this live. So do put your comments in, put your questions in, and if you guys need any support with getting clear on your resistance, with clearing any old blocks, or getting clear on what your vision is that you really need to focus on, or creating your path of practice that you can really devote yourself to create that shift in your life, then I'm your woman. That's exactly what I do with the people that I work with. And I can also help you get clear on that in a breakthrough session. So book in for a call with me if that is something that speaks to you. And I would also love to hear from you. What other topics would you love to experience in these weekly Visionary Voices deep dive lives? I would love to hear what other things that you would like to learn about, anything that you're struggling with, anything that you would like to hear me speak about. Let me know in the comments, and I will see you again soon. Take care.